All right, so we are super pumped to have our newest partner here on Believe in Badgers, and that is Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is a unique approach to fantasy sports. They have a simple pick-em style format. All you have to do is select players that you believe will either outperform or underperform their expectations. It doesn't have the complexities of traditional DFS, super easy to use. The app is completely intuitive. I love using it. Super user-friendly. Big community. It's easy and fun to play. When you use Underdog Fantasy, remember to sign up using the link in the description of this episode and use our promo code BADGERS to receive a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Obviously, it's the biggest game of the year in the NFL this weekend. I've got 4 picks on the big game that I am putting in. I like a lot of overs here. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than a lot of people think. So my first higher that I'm choosing is A.J. Brown, higher than 69.5 receiving yards. And I also like Saquon Barkley higher than 23.5 yards for his longest rushing attempt of the game. On the flip side, give me higher than 6.5 rushing attempts for Patrick Mahomes. I think his legs are going to be super key in this game. And it's Travis Kelce. He always shows up when it matters most. Higher than 6.5 receptions for Travis Kelce in this one. I'm going to throw my pick in here too. I think the Chiefs get the 3-peat. It is devastating to me as a Bills fan to see that, but I'd rather lose to the team that wins it all than have the team that beat us lose to someone else. So those are my picks for the big game. Put your picks in over at Underdog Fantasy. Head on over to Underdog Fantasy, the website, use the app, use the link in the description. Our promo code BADGERS will get you a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We really appreciate you guys, and we really appreciate Underdog Fantasy for being part of the Believe in Badgers and the larger Believe community. All right, let's get into the show.
Bernstein again, big opening, pass 5, pass 10, Burlow's a man, and he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards out of there.
Welcome back to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by BetOnline.ag and Oakbridge Wealth Management. I'm Matt Perkins, joined as always by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how are we doing today?
Dude, it's February, it's cold, it's annoying, daycare's closed, but I get an hour to be with you guys. This is the hour right now, okay? Everyone who has kids, they know. I've been doing a lot of things today that I did not want to do. None of them involve watching TV or like anything. So every day's a holiday. I'm pumped because Clint's back. Looking like, dude, straight out of like the woods, dude. You look great,
dude,
man.
Don't I fit in? Northern Wisconsin. I got the beard. I got the flannel. I just, I feel part of the
wood ceiling.
Now. Juicy, quiet. Sorry, the dog.
You're yelling at your dog? I mean, you literally are Northern Wisconsin. I love
Northern Wisconsin, baby.
It
feels good. Feels good.
So we are going to get into it here. I'm calling today's episode group therapy because I just need to talk it out with my boys is really what it boils down to. So we're going to get into our group therapy session here in just a second. Before we do, though, I want to remind everyone tuning in that we continue to be presented by BetOnline.ag, the world's most trusted betting platform. And guess what, guys? This weekend, biggest weekend of the year. You know what is up. It's Super Sunday. BetOnline is the place to be to bet all of your favorite props on the big game. They've got hundreds of different props, MVP odds, in-game live betting, and more. BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. If you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline offers you everything and more to enhance your game day experience. Head on over to the website today, betonline.ag. Use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV. Get in on the action and make every day count just a little bit more. BetOnline, the game starts here. And, of course, we continue to be proudly presented by our main man, Chris Anicetti, and his entire team over at Oakbridge Wealth Management. If you are a pro, future pro, or NCAA athlete with NIL deals, you need to connect with Chris Anicetti and the team at Oakbridge. They are going to create a bespoke plan for you to set you up to navigate your lifestyle and future market conditions. Oakbridge specializes in one thing: wealth management for professional athletes. They know the pressures that they face every single day. They will make your money work for you off the field so you can focus on what you do best, perform on the field. Get in touch with Chris on Instagram at oakbridgewm_Anicete. That's oakbridgewm_ANICETE. Or head on over to their website, oakbridgewealthmgmt.com. Chris Anicete, Oak Ridge Wealth Management. Get your money right. Clint, these days, these players are getting their money right more and more and more in the portal, and re-upping with their teams. It's like some of these guys are entering free agency, testing the market, see what they can get, and coming back. Clint, like, I always knew that college football was going to become, more and more professionalized. I didn't expect it to happen this quickly and this drastically.
Yeah, I mean, we knew NIL would change things. We knew the transfer portal would change things. We didn't know that it would really make for an NFL style free agency, and it really kind of has. Going into this, and especially the world that I work in now with an athlete management company, we were prepared for the transfer portal. Nobody really knew exactly what it was going to go like. We were bouncing off ideas. I was talking to colleges. Will it move fast? Will it be done in the first couple days? Are people just going to take money? Is it going to be? And it ended up moving really fast and really slow because it was musical chairs. If a school signed a guy that took your spot that you thought you were going to start, then all of a sudden you're in the portal, and it just was a loop of never ending. Money drove a lot of it. Opportunity drives a lot of it. Right now, if you're not happy with something, I mean, it's even better than the NFL players have. It'd be like, I don't have to make a stink. I just be like, enter my name in the portal. They got 48 hours. The compliance does to get me in there, and I can test the market. I think a lot of people went into the market blindly and found out the hard way what schools were looking for. And it's crazy. It didn't matter how big of a recruit you were. If you had success in the past, schools were looking for, they'd go straight to PFF. They were looking for the number of snaps that you played and how productive you were at the college level. And it almost changes the whole way you think about it as a prospect. It's like, you want to go somewhere where you can get snaps and then go and get paid. This could help the younger school, the smaller schools, I think, in the midterm. Am I going to look to go and sit on the bench and then hopefully get paid 3 years down the line? Or am I going to go somewhere to get snaps right away and get paid right away? What's your financial plan? What are your goals? And I think it changes everything. The loyalty piece, I think, really hurts college football fans. We're seeing it at all levels, the stabbing level, the player level. It's like, if I'm not happy, I can go. I think it kind of hurts the game in a way where you're not going to have, you cheered for this guy for 3 years. You were his biggest fan. You might be following him at a different school after he was your favorite player at your school the year before. I can't blame the kids. I can't blame the colleges. I can understand from the fan standpoint how it's upsetting because you never know what you're going to get. But as a coaching standpoint, it's like, you're literally deciding, how am I going to retain what I need on this roster? And then let's see who we want to let, test free agency. And then we've also seen in Wisconsin, maybe the craziest story of all, you can leave outside the portal after signing a contract. So are there rules? I don't know. It's constantly evolving. You got to be prepared. I'm reading about this stuff every day, and it's not going away. I can tell you that.
First off, you touch on so many things that I wish I wrote all of them down about the dark place of college football. It is, dude, first off, okay, college football pre-NIL is gone. That is a memory that it's just gone. Throw it out the window. Throw it out of your heads. It is not that way. Your fan experience is a joke now. Not a joke, but you could win the national championship and then your team could stink the year after. It could happen anyway, but dudes are leaving. Dudes are coming. You're paying $10 million to see a quarterback go somewhere. It's absolute mayhem. And to me, the fan experiences of learning. First off, we have 19 guys transfer into Wisconsin. Is that right, Matt Perkins?
Yeah, give or take.
19 dudes. We had like 7 recruits from on the offensive side. That could be light. Maybe it's 8 or 9. It's not multiple digits. On defense, we had more guys, so that's okay. But still, like, you have 19 transfers, so you're learning 19 new guys who could potentially play at on the field. You have 19 guys leave. What is the point of learning anyone? Like, what's the point of first off, don't ever buy a jersey. It's the worst investment in the world. It is not the NFL. The NFL used to be bananas, and now it's sane. It's
in comparison, it absolutely is. Well, that's
what
the thing.
What is going on, Clint Cosgrove and Matt Perkins? It's lunacy. Not just at Wisconsin, across the board.
Well, no, I was at dinner.
I care about Wisconsin. That's really it.
I was at dinner with one of my buddies who played offensive line at USC the other day, and he's just flat out said, I hate college football now. I will not watch. I have no attachment, no allegiance. And it's not just because of USC. I mean, he's our age. USC has been good. The team was great when he was on it, right? But he just was I can't watch it. I don't care in the world because there's no such thing as a team culture anymore. When you're cycling through such a giant percentage of the roster every single year, and that includes the coaching staff, right? You don't have there's just no tradition, and sort of what we all love, or I think what most college football fans love, is the tradition, is the pageantry, is that little bit of absurdity that goes along with college football. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous sport. If you go to the Rose Bowl and watch the parade, it's a ridiculous sport in the best possible way. And we've lost it. And there's no going back. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube at this point. And so I think this really is sort of a tipping point for fans, and what do they care about, and are they getting pushed away from the sport? I know the numbers are good, and the college football playoff, viewing numbers are probably pretty good, but I feel, at least from my perspective, that a lot of the passion is really decreasing across the board. And we can align, I think, a significant amount of it to this sort of speeding up of just cycling players around and around and around, and coaches around and around and around.
Well, Matt Perkins, just to piggyback on that, I don't think people care about, one, the institution, right, that you're going to. We've lost that completely. Now It's just about playing football and getting money. It's not about going and getting an education. So you're not building these heartstrings to your university, to the University of Wisconsin, like I did. I showed up day one. I was like, man, I'm from New York. What the hell's going on here? And then you
also showed up day one, knowing that they weren't going to push you out after a year if you didn't do every single thing that you wanted them to. You knew the coaching staff was going to have faith and try to build you up.
Yeah, I mean, right. Totally.
I don't think you can have that anymore. I don't think.
Give you a glimmer of hope.
Yes,
give me a glimmer.
Revenue sharing. Okay. Revenue sharing will enable schools that otherwise haven't been able to in this space up until today retain their players. So if you have a favorite player, you have a player that's good, you have a player that is a culture guy, it can still happen. It's not gone to the wayside, but you can retain them with revenue sharing. Before, a school that had a big time player, they were typically gone if they weren't a big money school. Now, with the revenue share, and it's still got to go through, they can say, okay, we need to retain our roster. And when I'm talking with player personnel guys, when I'm talking with GMs, the big thing is, all right, we need to set aside this amount of money to retain the players that we need, we want, that we need to continue to develop this program. There are, believe it or not, still a couple developmental programs that are going to succeed, and they were built for this space going into it already. They saw it coming. They were visionary in that aspect, and now they have a roster that they want to retain. Now, it might take a couple years to get to that point where you have a roster you want to retain, but I do believe with the revenue sharing, as long as it goes through the way it is supposed to go, the way it is supposed to work, I think we are going to see more retaining of the players that we actually followed on the team, of our stars, of our guys who would be considered program guys, because they're not going to just get up and leave if they're enjoying their experience for $50,000 extra, because Wisconsin would be able to match that through the revenue share. So I think it's really to get closer to the old ways of football, just a little more money involved. You retain the athletes that are your program, that are your culture, And then once you figure out how much that money is, you go and get new guys with the rest of the money. But I think it's going to be a little harder. People were talking about Jeremiah Smith leaving after 1 year. And I'm like, who's going to pay him more with the revenue share, then with the collective, then with his Red Bull deals? Like, it makes zero sense for a guy like that to leave. So if you get a guy like that in your program, you're going to have the means to take care of him. And that gives me a glimmer of hope. And hopefully it should for you guys too.
Well, they thought they had that guy in Xavier Lucas, and that didn't work. So, like, I'm being overly negative, but I think that for Wisconsin, they got that freshman that was a breakout star, and they thought they're going to retain him, and they're gone, and even no matter what, and that is eminently frustrating, obviously, as a fan. Like, I'm even, Bernstein calls himself a couch potato. I'm even more of a couch potato. But that's just, it's like, I don't want to say like, what's the point, but it's, that's why I'm calling this therapy session, man. I just got to get that out there. Like, it is frustrating.
Here's my thing, Clint, and my brain still goes back to, let's just say 2004, 2003, whatever. We're on the team. There was hardly any guys left. I mean, nobody left. It was the seniors who graduated, and you knew who the next guy was, and everyone did, right? Yep. And you were pumped for it. Or you had young Matt Bernstein splitting time with Russ Kuhns, but you had him for 3 more years, so people got to know you. They just knew you in town. They knew you everywhere. It was a whole different feel, right? Brooks, the second Brooks went down, we had Sorgi, and we felt confident with Sorgi, right? And we knew he was there in, 2003. Like, you just knew what was going to happen, and you could be a fan of these guys. Now, every day you go to family day, you're like, who the hell are these people? Like, where they they're just giving jerseys out over and I don't mean that negatively to the guys that are in the jersey. It's just, if I'm really being negative, which it feels like to me a negative day today.
It's a therapy session.
But it's that to me, right? It's not like watching the Jets, and even though they stink god awfully bad, you still know who these guys are, and you know who's going to be here next year, and you know who's not. Every year, it's in and out the door. Even the recruiting class, like, why get to know them? Because we have a podcast, but then I'm like, I'm retaining all this information. These dudes are just jumping ship. Xavier Lucas, somehow he figured out how to go to Miami. He's literally taking pictures in their gear. He's got a signed contract at Wisconsin. He's suing the university. Like, this is where we're at. If I'm the university, I'm going to backtrack from a couple months ago. I think they need to throw everything at this. And the NCAA should back Wisconsin, because you're signing.
The Big Ten has already come out.
If you're signing a contract, and then let's just say the law says, no, he's okay, he can leave. Now there is no law. Now it's like, just go wherever school you want. No law. Sign a contract for 10 years, which doesn't make sense. Sign a contract for 5 years, get $500 million, and then just go to the next school you want to. Sign as many deals as you want. Like, it's just bananas. And that's my thing. We don't have to jump into it. I have more questions for Clint about what he's doing, what he's hearing.
So the Xavier Lucas thing is very interesting, because they have not passed the revenue share. So, like, I've seen these contracts, and when you sign them, they do not kick in until June. So same thing can be said if it didn't go through, and then all of a sudden June comes around and he's like, I'm not getting paid. I mean, then the onus is on the university, but it's too late. Like, how does it work? And so there is a rule of law in play. There needs to be structure. What?
Is June the timeline? Like, is that when the revenue share is all?
That's when June, July, I can't remember the exact date, is when these revenue sharing payments, they begin, because that's when you're going into fall camp. I am sorry. Hey, Juicy. Yeah, we got.
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Yeah, it was all a dream.
College football, it was all a dream.
It was all a dream.
I used to know who was on the team. Wow.
We got to get Bernie in a rap video.
That took like half an hour to think about. All right. Well, listen, outside of like the player personnel people like who are playing football, Clint, I have a question. This might be out of left field, but you're from lineage of defense.
Yes.
My therapy question of what I need to know is, Is there a chance we ever win with the 3-3?
If you get the right personnel, I mean,
Okay, so
it's
no. Listen, we're not getting Lawrence Taylor on the edge. Like, come on, dude. Give me like a reasonable. The guys we have.
Yeah.
Is it a reasonable thing? Your dad was a 4-3 guy, maybe a 4-3, and then he would drop a guy down if there was like a tight end.
Yeah.
Do we have a chance?
A lot of 3-3 stuff in the towards the end. You know, I think you can be successful. The problem is when you've got a team full of pros that you're going against, and Ohio State's a team full of pros, literally. I don't care what your defense is. You better play it perfect. And so the thing with the 3-3 is it's supposed to be very confusing for the offensive line because it doubles their counts on who can be coming as the extra guy. Everything's moving and shifting and changing. But if you can't execute it and you don't have the dudes to you gotta have defensive linemen who can push the line of scrimmage back. You've got to have athletic linebackers who can run over the top. You've got to have safeties who can come down into the box. I think it's not necessarily the formation that matters as much. It's how you play within it and that you have certain pieces. And then you got to find the guys who are under the radar. So that still is an aspect of this. And then retain them now once they're good. It's gone are the days are, oh my God, we found a guy. Thank God he's going to be here for 4 years and absolutely kill it for us. That being said, with revenue share, I think there is a hope for that. There is a need to have a great scouting, understanding, internal scouting, and scout who you have. Can they do what we need? You can't be too quick to pull the trigger because I still think a team like Wisconsin needs to be a developmental program. You've got to find a way to do that within this landscape. And you can't say it can't be done. It might be a little harder, but you got to find a way to get it done. And I think that's the hard part. I think there's a lot of defenses that you can play. There's a lot of variations of what you can play with a 3-3 stack. But the big thing is, if we don't have the personnel to be successful in that, how can we change up the defense? How can we do variations of it? I think if your roster is constantly evolving, your defense needs to constantly evolve too. We need to have base day one defense. This is what we install. But these are easy ways we can get into different fronts, different things to confuse the quarterback, confuse the offensive line, and maximize what we have talent-wise. I think it's harder to say this is going to be our identity. This is all we're going to play. I think you have to really, really get to a point where you're not adjusting to where the kids are confused because they're playing a new defense each week, but you've got to get to the point where you have your day one install. That's your terminology. That is your reads. That is what you play in certain situations. And then we got to find a way to maybe change the way it looks to the offense while still playing our core concepts. So I think, that's a very loaded answer with Clint, a lot of variables.
Yes, the description says, yes, we can.
Yeah,
I'm going to still say, no, we can't, because there's a lot of things that have to go right for the 3-3 to work. And you tell me differently, but for the 4-3 to work, mistakes can be made, and there's an extra guy in there. Depending on how you line up in the 3-3, I get it. There's 100 ways you can do things. But the problem is there's way too many. The 4-3, it's pretty much like I'll punch you in the mouth. You punch me in the mouth. Like, we'll see who tackles someone after a yard. Here's my question. Since you have all this background knowledge on recruiting, when you're looking at dudes who play in a 4-3 or a 3-4 in high school, do those guys, when you're scouting, do you think these guys are going to be great in a 4-3, a 3-4, but they can also be great in a 3-3? Is that something you're thinking about in your head, or you're really limiting? Now, this is a great outside, a weak side linebacker in a 4-3, probably not a 3-3 guy. Is that the thought going through your head sometimes?
Yeah, I think when you're doing it, like, let's say I'm on a team and I'm recruiting to a specific scheme, I am looking for that. I'm saying, okay, this guy can play this position and this defense. I think when you're looking at grand scheme, there's certain guys who you're like, okay, I really like him on the defensive line because he may be able to play three positions. He can be an edge, maybe he can go out and be a nickel, or you got another guy who can be a three technique or a nose, or can even play, on the outside. So I think you're looking for versatility overall. But there's certain guys who scream they would be great in this type of defense for sure. But I think, when you look at it from an individual team standpoint, you got to say, okay, we can't just, if we're married to this, we can't just go out and get the best defensive lineman. We've got to get the best defensive lineman who's going to be able to do what we ask them to do.
But to me, that must be watered down then. That must be a finite group.
It is a finite group, and they're usually the top players. And, so that's another thing as well. One of the things that I would bring up is, you say, okay, we're going to go to a 4-down front, which, I think in the Big Ten might be necessary at times, a lot more necessary than 2-down. One of the things we've had the hardest trouble with is finding 4 defensive linemen who can play. So then you get back in that, it's like the chicken and the egg. Okay, the 3-3-5 didn't work. Let's go 4-3, but we couldn't find defensive linemen before. So what are we doing? And it's a circular argument. I think it's, do you find the players that make it work? Do you find the defense that make the players work? At some point, it's all got to come together and you've got to make a decision. And then you got to make sure that your decision is something that can be sustained over time. Are we going to be able to retain this player? Are we putting our resources? Because I look at the numbers of the average pay of each position across the conference, the low end, the high end, the median. And you kind of got to say, all right, where are we going to put our money? And if our defense needs to be outstanding on the defensive line, and that we need 3 guys that are able to play these 3-down positions and then get some depth as well, develop some guys, and that is necessary for our success. Well, then we need to a lot more money to that position. So there is a real GM, a real NFL, thought process that gets to go in here. I think you've got to have somebody evaluating everybody else's roster. You have to be evaluating your own roster. In the transfer portal, like I said, they're looking for guys who have played snaps. Why? Because they're developmental guys, the guys who they think that they're going to keep in the program. Those are the guys they want to be their high school guys. The guys who they bring in from the portal are supposed to be able to do what they want to do and have had time proving that they can do it. So it's a totally different thought process. You have to definitely change the way you recruit, change the way you manage your roster. And that's why you're seeing the real GM title, even though they don't have full, the head coach is still making the decisions at the end of the day. It's not like the NFL where the GM says, I don't care who you want to draft, you're taking this player, And
Wisconsin doesn't have a GM now, though. The Wisconsin GM just left, Max Steinecker, who we, well. He's gone. That hurts.
It does. And a lot of people are saying, the first thing they think of is Maximus was a great recruiter. And I don't want that to be understated at all. The thing that kind of makes him a unicorn is, yes, he is a great recruiter, but he was able to do all these other things that you need that position to do on the background. And I think that's the understated part. Like, he had a vision. He understood what you need to do. There was a structure to get it done. You've got to be a big picture guy. You've got to be in every meeting. You got to be in the offensive meetings, defensive meetings, talking with the coaches, talking with the head coach. How are we going to build this? How are we going to sustain this? What is our vision for making this happen? Where do we shoot our shot? Where do we spend our money? There's so much more to it than just going out and landing a player. It is a very, if you want to have a real GM, and I think Max, especially a young guy, like he had a big picture understanding of what needs to happen. And as a GM, you're building a team to sustain. You're not building for a flash in the pan. So I think you still need to do that, because you have to find a way to sustain the success, to retain players, and to fill in holes as a GM. And I think that's their big job. If they can be an ace recruiter as well, then that's the type of guy that you're looking for. But it's bigger than just recruiting. The GM role is becoming a real GM role without maybe the authority that an NFL GM has.
Why aren't you applying?
I'm kind of pinching myself at the opportunity I have right now. I partnered up with some big people in the entertainment world to start a big management company, and it's going pretty well. So, yeah,
you don't need to work.
You don't want to work those. You don't want to work those hours either. Those GM hours are out of this world, and it's tough to juggle that with being a dad. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm working a lot of hours right now, but they're not sending me on the road. I'm choosing when I go on the road, and I'm doing it at home. It wouldn't be the best to do it in an office, although sometimes I'd like to get out of the house.
All right, so I want to flip this. We have like 15 more minutes to the positive realm, if that's even a possibility. And
I'm ready, Bernie. I'm ready to get uplifted here at the end of the show.
Let's get an uplift. I saw something that said the fullbacks are back.
Let's go.
So all I'm saying is, if Grimes brings the fullback back,
oh, you're 100% in. You're 100% in if that happens.
And this guy can do it. He can do no wrong. No, here's what I was going to say. One, it'd probably be an H-back. Like, no one really has a fullback. But even if it is, that could, okay, to bring this completely, the Mets just signed Pete Alonso for 2 years. I didn't see what the deal is, but you never want that guy to leave. He's the glue guy. Those are what fullbacks used to be, like the glue guy, doing a job that like literally people would look at you, like doctors would look at you and be like, dude, you are literally insane to do this position. Why on earth are you doing, like, you're the dumbest person ever? But tell me one fullback we've had on our team that like everyone did love. Ingold, Chanel, Presley. I mean, you go Brady Ewing. I can go on for days about this. Like, these are dudes that everyone has only good things to say about. He brings us back. Let's go. Cecil Martin. I mean, Chad, we can go on for days. Everyone who's ever played fullback is one of the best. And if I'm missing you, please don't be mad at me. Greg Root. Like, guys, just Red Meester. These are some bad dudes. I'll tell you, that room is a bad room, man. You do not want to be
can they be good dudes and bad? Could they be glue guys and bad dudes at the same time?
There was a couple of them. Bernie?
On the field, but
you're saying bad dude on the field, but glue guy off.
But everywhere else, you're like a glue guy. That's at least what you're not out there to get a ton of recognition, but everyone's like, oh, yeah, that dude's good. He's the best,
after
man.
Being out there in that position, you don't have a ton of recollection either, considering how many hits to the head.
And they were great at protecting the team off the field. Like, if there was an issue, the fullbacks came in to take care of it.
We have a good reputation, Clint. That's for sure. Okay, So uplifting, we might have a fullback back in the offense. Clint, for you, what is so important as your past knowledge has been? What do you need to see out of the spring game to give you hope that the Badgers can compete? I don't care about strength of schedule next year. I don't want to talk about that because I'm done with excuses. I don't care if we lose 10 games because our strength of schedule. I need to see X. What is that, Clint?
I want to see him compete. I want to see him. I'll never forget, and I've told this story a bunch of times, like when you talked about Darian Dupree's shoulder pad being out and nobody coming to say, like, that's ludicrous. Like, I want to see a group that gels, a group that cares, a group. And then you want to see some guys who we have in the pipeline that were brought up that did stay. The Darian Dupree's, Kyan Barry Johnson, the young guys who probably could have gone other places. Like, you can't tell me that Darian didn't get offers to leave. Yeah. We want to see those guys go out and shine, and maybe pick up a little leadership role too, because when you got 19 new guys coming in, these young guys are some of the guys who are experienced in the program. So I want to see some fight, maybe a little tussle on the field. I want to see them picking guys up. You want to see, I think people get too caught up on how scheme is in spring games because you're showing minimal. You're working on the basic concepts, but you want to see, you just want to see some fight. You want to see some continuity, some togetherness. You'd love to see the D-line do some stuff. But then you get to the point, it's like, the D-line blew up the O-line. We're screwed on offense now. And then there's a circular conversation too. For me, it's competition. Let's see, do we have a big hitter? A guy who can hit a home run because that's needed. Do we have somebody who can stretch the field? Are we going to execute what we go on the field and do? It's like, are we seeing a team out there? Are we seeing something that's kind of becoming cohesive, or are we still a long ways from that? Because you're going to have a lot of newcomers. And the good thing with that is, I think if the young culture that you have in the program, if that is beginning to be strong, if it's starting to represent the program and the head coach, and those guys come in with some leadership, some guys who have had some experience too, and either enhance that or at least embrace it. And then you've got older guys who are echoing what the younger guys who have been in the program have been saying, have been buying into. So I want to see buy-in. I want to see a brotherhood. I want to see physicality. Go out there and hit somebody. People say, why would you hit your teammate? Well, you're not trying to kill them, but let's be physical. Let's use our hands. Let's play with good pad level. Look at the fundamentals. The talent, if the fundamentals are there, the talent will come through. Are we protecting the ball on offense or still just, throwing it up? Is the defense, playing disruptive? I think those are all things you look for. Spring break games can be very hard to predict, especially now, because guess what's going to happen after the spring game? There's going to be more guys in the portal. So, to me, it's all about what does the team feel like and look like, not necessarily the individual guys or the individual players, but what's the feel? Are they playing hard-nosed ball? Are they able to, as Barry would say, the pendulum, not panic, it's going to come back. And so I think you're looking for a mindset of a team more than anything. Are these guys coming together? Do they love each other? Do we see, it might not be perfect right now, but they play for each other. And when everything comes into play, everything adjusts and we get used to the new transfers that are coming in and out after spring. Do we at least have the one thing that we can count on in place? And that is a team that is going to fight together, work for each other, love each other, play physical ball, play with fundamentals, and maybe hit a home run every now and then.
It's a lot more ingredients in that cake than it used to be.
It is.
It's like a tiramisu that you can't mess the timing up or whatever.
With layers.
Layers upon layers of transfer portal here, transfer portal. Thank God I did dry January, because now I'm thinking about just opening the floodgates. Keep me above board, brother. Honestly,
what February?
It's a wet spring. Dude, it's just nuts to think that you might not get reps in spring, and instead of, and this is my brain, and I think it's a lot of older people's brains, instead of working harder, you're gonna go see what else is out there. I mean, that to me is hard for me. Yeah. It's not everyone. I get it. Sometimes it's not just pushing through. It's you literally aren't happy, or you're all of a sudden on the fourth string. Yeah, I get it. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's just to think that you could go through spring practice and then be like, I'm just going to transfer. This sounds horrible to me.
It does.
Because spring sucks. Spring ball sucks.
Oh, it's the worst.
I didn't have 1 second of fun during spring ball.
Not 1 second. Not even a few times.
You got what?
Knocked out a few times because I'd talk crap to Shabert in the huddle and he'd purposely hang me out over the middle. And then he'd laugh when I didn't know what was going on afterwards. Love you, Shabes. Love you, Shabes, if you're watching. But no, spring ball is not fun. The thing I do think, and this comes back to the revenue sharing and everything like that, but the transfer portal, just knowing what I know and what people are looking at, you better know you have a place to go if you enter the transfer portal. If all of a sudden you're fourth string, and you don't have snaps behind you, like you're not transferring somewhere big. You're not getting paid to play somewhere, like unless you're a freak athlete, that has some accolades and you've done some things. It's going to be harder to transfer, I think, than it has been because people are going to be able to retain more of their roster.
It also, like, thinking about like Travis Beckham and like Owen Daniels, guys who have changed positions.
Yeah.
That might not happen. Like, you might not see these guys won Super Bowls because they changed positions. Just might not happen anymore because maybe Owen's like, I don't want to play tight end. I want to play quarterback. Maybe Travis like, I don't want to play, or I want to play linebacker. I don't want to play tight end. So I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of missed opportunities. Like, listen, I know money's money, and you should get as, believe me, if I could have went back and grabbed as much of it as possible and was smart with it, like Chris Anicetti would have made me, it would have been great. I'd be sitting here, I'd be like, guys, I'm not working because I don't need to. That's not reality. And it wasn't reality then. So I get the money aspect. But like building a culture, doing any of those things, like so guys are coming in, 19 new guys with 19 fresh new cultures. So like, Clint, how does a young guy who's been there for a year on a team that's trying to find themselves too, like, to me, this seems impossible to find that. Maybe it's, I actually am thinking of like, you got to have the best coaches, guys who are like, almost, Clint, like we're talking to our kids. Like, you have to give them the keep it simple.
Yeah.
This is how you can this is how you can be successful. And it's not a bullet point. It's not a presentation. It's literally like 3 lines.
Yeah.
Be physical. Don't make mental errors, and get your brother's backs. I don't know what those 3 bullet points are, but I need a guy like, you know who I need? I need Donovan Raiola. A guy who's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to start a fight 3 different times today. Not because I need to start a fight, because I'm just I want to.
And I'm going to live by these 3 bullet points while doing it. And I'm going to make sure you get the point. Okay. No, it's true. It's true. Keep it simple and keep the culture. If you base it off simplicity, if you make culture easy, if you make culture fun, people buy in. Okay. These kids still want to have fun. They're still kids. But if you've never had money, it's also easy to look at that too. But people are getting a lot of bad advice. I think as you get bad actors out of the quote unquote agent space, and that will happen with time, and you look at the big picture, like, yes, you have a minimal amount of time to capitalize on what you are doing at this part of your life, and you might never have that again. But if you build a brand during this time and you don't worry about next week's payday, you worry about down the line's payday, you have a brand that, goes farther from farther, it transcends football, you're going to be okay no matter what. So you got to find guys who understand that big picture. You got to coach them up on that. You've got to educate people. You got to educate them on what needs to be done. But you go back to your 3 bullet points, whatever it may be, make it easy to assimilate to the culture, and then have a couple guys with a little screw loose that can be a younger guy. Whether they, slap you around at practice, or they just run over you at practice and be like, you're going to fall in line, or this is going to happen again. And so you've got to have those leadership pieces, but it starts with the coaches. It really does. And you've got to create a culture that is exciting to be a part. Like you feel good about being these 3 bullet points. And that's what you focus on, because at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, you always go back to that. That is always going to be there. This is how you're going to be successful. You want to fall in line. You want to be a part of that. It's fun. It's exciting. And with that comes camaraderie and everything else. I think it can be done. It's harder than it used to be. It's going to get a little easier than it was just now. Remains to be seen, though.
Are you excited, both of you, for the new offensive coordinator?
I've talked myself into it.
Okay. I am.
Well, there's a fullback. I mean,
well, there's that. But listen, I think, I think the power spread, Matt Perkins, what we said we wanted to see a lot more of. And it seems like in this day and age with a plethora of skill guys, it's more accomplishable than maybe it was in 2001 where we started spreading it out and still running the ball the whole time. So like, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what spring does. But still, you put power in front of spread, and all I'm saying is if our O-line needs to take it, they need to watch Donovan Raiola every day. Just watch old clips. Dude, the Sports Illustrated, him giving the suck it sign to the Michigan State what's the guy's name? The
Sparty?
Yeah, but Sparty. Yeah.
The mascot.
That's
yeah.
Dude, that is that should be blown up in a picture. It should be the biggest picture when you walk into the O-line room. That's the picture.
This is our culture.
This is the culture. F everybody else, and you have to walk the walk though, because Donovan would talk the talk and walk the walk. Dude,
he would talk
and then
the talk.
He would talk the talk, and then it should be a picture of his brother laying in the end zone at whatever school they were playing at, just saying, "Hey," because he at Nebraska. He's like, "Hey guys, we're just gonna kick your ass today. I don't even need to warm up." I heard this dude was doing things that were bananas.
And then Olin Kreutz, his cousin, just killing people in the NFL.
It's just that's a culture. That family has a culture.
That is a culture.
Screw loose.
Yeah.
Crush you, tell you they're going to do it, and then just randomly pick a fight for no reason. But you know what? As much as that seems ridiculous and it pisses the coaches off, dude, Donovan, literally people wanted to follow him.
Yeah.
There's these little things in football that you could people want to follow him. And
they feel safer in that way.
You feel safe, but he can do that. Brooks was a different guy who just led by example, but then he would talk to you in the locker room and you'd be like, oh, wow, Brooks is talking to me. This is so cool. I just don't want to lose these cool things that Wisconsin and all football used to have, where Brooks could be like, I could just go make $1 million playing at Minnesota or some other school. I don't know.
Bernie, you know what? I think we've got pretty good culture here, though.
We do.
You make me the GM of Wisconsin football, and that culture's going to change. I won't do literally any behind the scenes. I'm just going to call Clint every day, be like, dude, what should I do here in this job? But I will be.
We'll have our daily powwow.
I'm like, wait, what's on my agenda today? I'll just ask ChatGPT. He'll tell me. But dude, you'll see somebody out. I'll be there at 5 a.m. every day, juiced, 3 pre-workouts, hitting bags, going bananas.
Fickle, Mac, hey, you heard it right here. We've got the guy.
Oh man, I'm really excited for Wisconsin football. I also think we're in the down, the downs curve of football. Outside the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, that I literally don't care who wins, and I sadly, and everyone's going to judge me, but I want the Bills to win. And I want the Jets to win, but that was over week 1, and then I want the Bills to win. Now I'd probably just go to sleep after eating 1,000 chicken wings. That being said, without seeing one commercial. After this, there's nothing. So spring game is what I'm excited about. Seeing these guys actually on a field, not in the weight room. I love weight room. You can get as jacked as you want, do all these things, but dude, spring practice is important, man. And I just think you got to coach the dudes the same, but you got to get results out of it. You got to get these dudes going.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They can just come and hang out with us. We'll get them going. Clint will get them going. I'll do my best to get them going. I'm not the hype man you guys are. I'm a little bit more of a behind the scenes guy.
You're the culture glue.
You're the glue guy, Matt Perkins.
Be the glue. You know what? I'll be the glue guy. That's okay. I played center. I had to glue my offensive line.
All you got to do is fight somebody on the defensive side every couple plays.
I also did that.
Bigger than you think, guys.
It's a lot bigger than you think.
I also did that. I'm shouting at you, Derek Andewig, the freaking scout team nose tackle on my high school football team who drove me absolutely insane. With that, we're going to wrap it up here today on Believe in Badgers. Clint, thank you as always for joining us.
Hey, man, this is the best part of my since the last time we did this. Thank you for having me. Let's do it more. I love it. I love it. I love you guys. The culture here is a winning culture.
It's a winning culture, baby. We're gonna have to do something at Wando's where a lot of wins happened, a lot of losses, but a lot of wins.
And I'm in Wisconsin. I'm just a drive away. I'm right here.
Let's go. We got to pick 2 games.
We appreciate.
We got to do spring ball together.
Dude, that's a possibility. All right, let's talk later. We'll talk offline.
we'll talk offline about that. But we hope that everyone tuning in online on the Believe Network is enjoying this. Make sure you rate, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Thanks to betonline.ag. Thanks to Chris Andicetti and his entire team at Oak Ridge Wealth Management. And until next time, thanks for tuning in on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Go Badgers.